Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. In this video, I'm going to show you some cards while I do a couple video responses to some YouTubers out there that asked us to do a couple things. And I enjoy doing these because sometimes it makes me think. And a couple of these that I'm going to do today made me think a little bit. And I want to share these with you. But first of all, Eric Fourleaf had a video response, and he wanted us to show a tabletop showcase. I I apologize to Eric, but I did not get around to doing his showcase showdown or his showcase VR in time. But I will do one sometime and give some shout out to Eric of Fourleaf Cards. Turn over and look at his channel. He's a recent YouTube Hall of Famer, and he's a great member of the YouTube community. So the first one I want to do is Old Sarge Collects. Now, what Old Sarge wanted us to do is he wanted us to maybe show a card of our two favorite teams that represent our two favorite teams. And he wanted us to talk about how they became our two favorite teams and what was the reason. And I love this one. I mean, this was pretty easy for me. It's kind of cut and dry. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you and talk to you about why I am a fan of two teams. And my favorite two teams, one in the National League and one in the American League. In the National League, it is the Cincinnati Reds. In the American League, it's the Kansas City Royals. And here's my reasoning on that. In 1967, I was born in Greasy Creek, Kentucky. And if you're from Kentucky, and there's some YouTubers here that are from Kentucky, a lot of YouTubers from Kentucky and a lot of people from Kentucky are Cincinnati Reds fans. See, they don't have a Major League Baseball team to root for. And the guys that are my age, when I was born and when my mind was molding as a fan, the Cincinnati Reds had the Big Red Machine, and they were incredible. They had talent at a lot of different positions. When you talk about them, they had Johnny Bench catching and Tony Perez at first and Joe Morgan at second, shortstop Dave Concepcion, third base was Pete Rose at the time that I remember, and had Foster in left and Geronimo in center and King Griffey Sr. in right. And their pitching staff, they had Gary Nolan and Jack Billingham and Clay Kirby and Pat Darcy. And they had Raleigh Eastwick relieving along with Will McEnany, and they won two World Series, and it was easy for me to find them to root for. My dad was a fan, and that helped make me become a fan. And then one day, in '75, we moved to Middle Missouri, and I still cheered for the Cincinnati Reds, but I didn't get to hear them on radio like I did before when we lived in Kentucky. We didn't watch any TV, but listened to them on the radio. But when we moved to Missouri, where my mom was from, it's right right smack in the middle, a little bit south of where I am now. And I had a choice. I could be a Cardinal fan or a Royals fan because there was friends around me. Some were Royals fans, some were Cardinal fans, and I could choose. But at that time, the Royals were becoming one of the best teams in baseball. People forget from when George Brett's second year up until, from 75 until 85, the Royals were really good and had a really good franchise. They just couldn't get over the New York Yankees team to make it to the World Series. And that's why I'm probably not that is why I'm not a New York Yankees fan right now. And, we don't mention Chris Chambliss in this house. It's still too soon. And I'm not Greg Nettles kicking George Brett in the face makes me not care about him very much. But those are the two reasons why I became fans of those two teams. And to this day, I'm still fans of both franchises. Now, I'm a Royals fan now. I've lived here long enough that if they played in the World Series, I would cheer for the Royals. But in 1975, if in 1975 or 76, if the Royals played the Reds in the World Series, I really don't know who I would have rooted for. And I want to show you a couple of these cards just so I can represent. So first of all, I want to show you my Johnny Bench rookie card. I show it a lot, but it was easy to get this out and show this. And then the other one that represents the Royals, of course, George Brett rookie. Now, I could have showed a lot of the Kansas City Royals. No Hall of Famers, really, but, I talked about how good the Reds were with their lineup. Well, the Royals won 100 games a couple different times in the 70s with, Darrell Porter catching and John Mayberry at first and Frank White at second and Freddie Patek at short, Brett at third. And, the outfield, they had Al Cowens in the outfield and Amos Otis in the outfield. And, usually platoon back when I was younger with like Tom Poquette and Joe LaHood, somebody like that. Hal McRae was their DH. And if you want to look up how to take somebody out at second base back in the day, the difference between turning a double play today and turning a double play 20 years ago, watch Hal McRae, watch George Brett, how they took people out. And I want to thank Old Sarge Collects and his channel. I don't know exactly what he's celebrating, but what a great storyteller and what a great channel to watch. So give that a look. So now the video response I want to do is for Rocket Rick J. And at least I believe it's Rocket Rick. And you talking about a great channel. I believe he was Rookie of the Year this year, voted on by some of the YouTubers. And he's just fun, and he's got an incredible collection. And I'm going to talk about his collection here shortly while I'm doing this. But what he wanted us to do in a video response is tell us who we're inspired by on YouTube to pick up a specific card. And I got more than one specific card, but I was inspired. I was inspired to get on YouTube by Mike Moynihan, a baseball collector, and Bench Clear Media, and Chasing Cardboard, and whatever other stuff he wants to jump on and do. And then also, I was really inspired by Ray from Philly. Now, Ray from Philly, when I started watching this, they were doing something called, they were collecting the 300 Great Baseball Cards by Mike Payne. And I'm going to show you this book. I'm going to have it turn. It's too big to do it the other way, but I'm going to show you this. And this is what they were doing. And they were having a pretty good time. And in it, they have 300, what Mike Payne thought were great cards. Now, they weren't, not all of them could even be considered 300 of the greatest cards of the 20th century. They just couldn't. But they inspired me to pick up some cards that I normally wouldn't get. And I'm going to show you a couple of those. And let me go ahead and do that now. I normally, if it wasn't for Ray and Mike's obsession with this 300 great cards, I would not have gone for it. But I also would not have Herb Washington in my collection. And that's a shout out right there to John Keating, who has this card and talks about this card a lot. I would not have this Oscar Gamble in my collection, even though I kind of liked Oscar Gamble, the way he batted and the way he stood at home plate. I would not have this Kirk Vivacqua blowing bubble, which is in the 300 great cards. I don't know why. It just is. And then I would probably have this one in there, but it helps me getting these cards and getting them slabbed and put them in my collection will help me remember Mark Fidrych as a Rookie of the Year, I think, or as a Cy Young, and all his antics on the mound. And also, I get to remember, and I have plenty of Thurman Munson cards, but in the 300 great cards that I keep going back to and looking at, I will keep this and keep remembering how great a player Thurman Munson was. And so I would not, I mean, they inspired me to start that. And I have 200 and some cards in that now. And you know, I probably never will finish it. And I was, you know, I was watching a debate with John Mangini and Dave Blue Jacket 66, two of the two of the gold standard collectors in here, and they were talking, and I don't know if they were directly talking about the 300 great cards, about what Mike and Ray and I do, but one of them said, you know, uh, stuff like this makes people pick up cards that they really don't want to, or they normally wouldn't collect. And, you know, that's probably true, but also if I was a set collector and that's what I did, I would also be picking up some cards I normally wouldn't get. I mean, there's no reason, I'd mention it, but there's no reason why I would want a Tom Poquette card unless I was trying to finish up the 1978 um, the complete set that I needed to get Tom Poquette or Joe LaHood or 1964 Choo Choo Coleman. There's really no reason for me to get that. So I think that anytime you collect after something, I have a poster hanging here on my wall that my wife bought me, and I wanted to get every card that's on that poster. Well, I normally wouldn't have done that had she not bought me that poster. You know, I doubt if I'd have gone after a Robin Roberts or, you know, somebody like that, you know, an early win, but it's on this poster, so I want to get it. So, you know, having this 300 great card book and trying to go after every card in that book, it just puts me on a mission. And you know, having these cards, you know, the Herb Washington and the Kurt Vivacqua, I'm glad now. You know, I wouldn't have gone after them, but now I'm glad I did. And so, you know, Rocket Rick is a set collector, and he has a bunch of sets all the way down to, you know, 50 or 51. And through doing that, I'm sure he picked up a lot of cards that he didn't want to. But I was really, really inspired to do this set by my friend Ray from Philly and my friend Mike, baseball collector. So if you get a chance, watch these two channels, and including Eric Fourleaf, three great YouTubers, and I look forward to my next few interactions with them coming up. And guys, remember, it's only a hobby. Collect what you like.